Okay, we are live. We will just be starting in a couple of minutes. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Yeah, I just sent you on, sorry, I've just sent you on WhatsApp, Naren. Okay, so our co-host, Data Naren, is just going to be joining us shortly. But without further delay, let's start the proceedings. I would like to thank everyone on behalf of GTH, Gordon Thomas Honeywell DNA. Especially, I would like to thank our partners, the Royal Malaysian Police and the D13 division, the data bank division, for organizing, for helping us organize this. And I would like to make a special mention our colleagues from Missouri, all the way from the other side of the world. This is late at night for them, but they have been gracious enough to be with us and share their learnings today, and we are ever so grateful. I would. I also have with me. I would just like to begin with introductions of the panelists. The people that you see, starting with. Let me just start with Brian K. Hoey, who's the lab director at Missouri State Highway Patrol, and his colleague Brittany. I would, of course, request them later to introduce themselves in detail. I also have Ms. Raihana from the PDRM, and she will also be introducing herself. And last but not the least, Dato Narain, who's a retired general with the Royal Malaysian Police, and now he is advising Gordon Thomas Honeywell. It's great to have you too, Dato.
Thank you.
Great. So what we will be doing in this session is, of course, we will be starting with the Missouri case, and we will once both Brian and Brittany have made their talk, we can put the stage, keep it open to questions, and post that we also have a demo, a rapid demo for some of you who want to know how it works in detail, and also have some cases from other states in the US, and we would also like to show you how they are doing it, how they are using rapid in booking stations, or in fact in labs as kiosks. But that's for later. Right now, let me just try to set the context before I hand it over to our guests. The reason why we are conducting this webinar, which is Emerging Technologies in DNA Forensics, Decentralized Rapid DNA, is this the future? The reason is that we all know that rapid DNA is emerging as a very powerful crime-fighting technology. It's transforming the investigative process. It's providing leads in initial critical hours that was not possible earlier. Studies have shown that the duration of investigation has been reduced significantly in cases where rapid has been used compared to traditional methods. And rapid devices can be used at booking stations. They can be used at labs, or even in the field, as you will just hear shortly. And they work great with databases, with the local databases, with the national databases. This technology has the potential to dramatically impact law enforcement's ability to generate leads, investigative leads, while the arrestee is still in custody. And the best, I would say, result of that would be preventing additional crimes from being committed. Additionally, police officers can, I would say, also prioritize testing and on the field and generate forensic DNA results from crime scene samples in 90 minutes. With minimal training, you don't need to have a science degree to do this. You can obtain intelligence on the field and immediately impact an investigation by linking suspects or crime scenes. Lastly, I would just like to say that Asia is our databases are emerging. We are not as advanced as Europe and US, but we are getting there. Especially Malaysia. Royal Malaysia Police now has over 200,000 profiles in their database and growing. And they are not just solving violent crimes, but they are now also using their database to solve property crimes, which is a first in the region. And I'm sure they are well positioned to use this technology, rapid technology, and improve their capabilities multifold. And not just at the federal level, but also at the regional. So with that, I would just pass on to Dr. Naren to say a few words before we give the mic to our partners and our guests.
Thank you, Saurabh. A very good morning, everyone. First and foremost, allow me to thank Saurabh for organizing this webinar. As an introduction, I'm Narenasegaran Tangavelu. I'm a retired Commissioner of Police after having served 36 years in the Royal Malaysia Police. Presently, I'm the country manager representing Gordon Thomas Honeywell in Malaysia. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you for having taken the time to attend this very important and impactful webinar. Emerging technology in DNA forensics is decentralized rapid DNA analysis, the future. With the increasing expectation of the public at large, and also the courts who insist on the best evidence rule, it is imperative that law enforcement agencies and related stakeholders stay relevant to furnish the input in real time. Instead of scientific evidence coming from the lab, can we take science to the crime scene? We have some very able people, as Saurabh has mentioned, who have already embarked on this pursuit and will be sharing their experience with us. I pray the input from this seminar will benefit us, and hopefully that we will be able to look at it from a different perspective, so that we are able, or the enforcement agencies are capable of serving justice and the public in real time, saving money, saving costs, and also bringing closure to criminal cases that has been on the police hands for a very long time. So with those opening words, I hand over the thing back to Saurabh to carry on with the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. And with that, I would go to our official partners and Madam Rahana, if you could just say a few words. Thank you.
Okay, very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening to you, Mr. Brian and Miss. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's Brittany.
I am Superintendent of Police Rahana Binti Hamdan, Head of DNA Analysis Section of DNA Database Division, Royal Malaysia Police. I am pleased to be here on behalf of Assistant Commissioner Police, Dr. Muhammad Hakim, the Assistant Director of DNA Database Division, to give a welcoming remark for this webinar. Okay, it is our utmost pleasure to be in partnership with GTA DNA in organizing this webinar for sharing emerging technologies in forensic DNA that can be used to assist investigation and building intelligence. So before we probe into the details of our sharing session, I would like to emphasize the importance of rapid DNA analysis in aiding investigations. And rapid DNA technology have been widely used all over the world, especially in the United States. And with rapid DNA technologies, DNA profiles can be produced in shorter intervals with minimal training, which gives an impact for law enforcement, the ability to generate investigative leads. So we are very fortunate here to learn first-hand experience from our counterparts from the US. And we hope that by sharing of knowledge and learning by experience, we can gain better perspective, leading to improved efficiency and effectiveness in our investigation. So ladies and gentlemen, for your knowledge, Malaysia is striving to strengthen its national DNA database. And to date, there are over 200,000 profiles were stored in our DNA database since the enforcement of the DNA Identification Act 2009 in 2012. So these profiles were collected from 7 indexes, namely the Suspected Person Index, the Convicted Person Index, Drug Dependent Index, Detainee Index, Missing Person Index, Volunteer Index, and Crime Scene Index. So over the past 10 years of our operation, we managed to achieve more than 250 hits from various indexes. and more than half of the match cases were successfully charged and prosecuted. With this emerging technology, it is foreseen that more criminal cases can be solved in the intended time intervals. So in conclusion, rapid DNA is one of the emerging DNA technologies that would help to transform the investigation process in providing leads in the critical hours. And this webinar would give a new perspective to the participants and the opportunity of learning through experiences. And last but not least, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to Datuk Narayana Segaran, Malaysia Country Manager of GTH DNA, for giving us the opportunity to be part of the organizing committee of this webinar. And it is our honor for us, it is an honor for us to contribute to the advancement of DNA technologies for enhancing investigation and data intelligence. I would also like to thank our fellow speakers for their time and effort to share their knowledge with us. I wish you all a full day during this webinar session. Together, let us work towards building a safer community and across the nation. Thank you. I pass back to you, Mr. Sarab.
Thank you, Madam Rahana. That was wonderful. We can never thank you enough for making this happen. And thank you to all the audience who have, like Dato said, have taken out time for this. So without any further delay, I would go to our guests in Missouri, and Brian, Brittany, please take us through your journey, your thinking regarding Rapid, and please tell us how it's going, what your learnings are, and how we can learn from you from in this side of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarab. Let me just start off briefly and thank you as well as everybody over there on the other side of the world. And thank you to Gordon Thomas Honeywell for reaching out to us and asking us to do this. Let me first start by saying it's an incredible honor to be here with you all today, sharing what we've done so far. I can't express how honored we are to be here. So thank you all for hosting us and having us. We sincerely appreciate that. I'll take a brief moment to introduce myself, and then I'll let Brittany do that for herself. My name is Brian Hoey. I'm the laboratory director for the Missouri State Highway Patrol Crime Lab in Jefferson City, Missouri. And I've been in the forensic business for over 30 years. About half of my career I spent as a DNA analyst. And then moved into administration. I've been doing administration now fully for about the last 13 or so years. And so I do know a little bit about DNA, but I barely know how to spell it anymore. So my job in all this is really kind of program managing and overseeing, creating the vision, and really being the hammer to get things moving. And Brittany is really the one who's done all the heavy lifting and is the scientist in all this. So I'm going to turn it over to Brittany briefly and let her introduce herself, and then I'll start us off with our presentation.
Good morning to you all. I would like to echo what Brian said and express my gratitude for the opportunity to speak with you. My name is Brittany Baldwin. I currently serve as our DNA databasing supervisor and also our state CODIS administrator for our participation in the FBI's CODIS program. I've been in forensics for about 15 years now, and in DNA databasing for 10 of those. So I would like to apologize. I believe that I'm having some technical difficulties and I'm not able to hear or see our hosts. So if I seem unresponsive, that is why. But I look forward to sharing with you about our program.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. I'm going to go ahead and start off, if that's okay, Sarab. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Absolutely.
Let's see if I can do this without messing anything up. Hopefully, I will get this correct. And go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully, everyone can see that.
Yep.
Okay, good. There we go. So like we said, we're from the Missouri State Highway Patrol, and we'd just like to share our rapid DNA program with you. I just wanted to really start off, and I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but just showing you the map of the United States to show you where we're at. I would presume most people would know a little bit about the US, but I didn't want to be presumptuous to think that everyone did. And so we are here in Missouri, right in the middle. So everyone can hopefully see that. And so what we did was we just we're showing you here, since we're talking to you, you're in Kuala Lumpur, most people are from South Asia, Southeast Asia, or in the area. We put Malaysia up on top of the United States here to show basically the size of the United States. The United States is significantly larger than Malaysia, obviously, in terms of both size and population. The US is the third largest country in the world, covering an area of approximately 9.8 million kilometers. In contrast, Malaysia is about 330,000 kilometers in size, making it one of the smaller countries in Southeast Asia. The US has a population of 331 million people, and by contrast, Malaysia has a population of 32.7 million people. So to give you a more specific comparison of where we're at and what we're doing, the state of Missouri is smaller than Malaysia, which is approximately 330,000 square kilometers, while Missouri is only about 180,000 square kilometers. And you can see here by comparison that East Malaysia basically is sitting right on top of Missouri. The population of Missouri is about 6.2 million people, compared to Malaysia's population of approximately 32.7 million. So where the geographical size of Malaysia is approximately 1.8 times larger than that of our state in Missouri, Malaysia's population is more than 5 times that of Missouri. So we definitely have a little more elbow room than you all do in Malaysia. So that now that we've showed you kind of where Missouri is in comparison to the US and kind of did a little bit of comparison to the country of Malaysia, we'll zoom in on our state here. Here is the map of Missouri and our laboratory system. We have 7 labs in our system and 2 evidence drop-off kiosks. And you can see where they're strategically placed here. We're talking to you today from the center of Missouri in Jefferson City. And what our plan is to do is to strategically place rapid DNA instruments throughout the state. Now, with our agency, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, our state is geographically broken into 9 areas, which we call troop areas. And so here is that map disarticulated or broken up, and it shows each of our troop locations by letter designation. And as a point of reference, where I was just pointing, this is where Brittany and I are talking to you from today, in the middle of the state. And where we have the 2 arrows, the 2 orange arrows in Springfield and Cape Girardeau, that's where we plan to start our rapid DNA program. And we're going to be doing pilot programs in those laboratories in a very short order. In either case, the instruments are being kept intentionally outside of the laboratory and outside of our laboratory quality management system. So we want to have some modicum of control of the instruments, as these are scientific instruments and must be maintained as such. But we don't have to want to go through all the quality assurance, proficiency testing, protracted validations and those types of things. We're really looking at these instruments as being tools for law enforcement, not necessarily tools that are going to be used for a specific reasonable doubt case in the crime laboratory. So again, here is our laboratory locations, and in red, we're showing you again where our instruments are deployed currently. And as we showed you on this previous slide, our intention in the next couple years would be to have an instrument in each one of these locations. But we are starting out in the areas where we have designated in red. When our hosts were going through the introductions, there were several comments made. One of which was, can we do this at low cost? Can we bring this to the crime scene? Yes, that's our goal. Our goal is to be able to bring the science closer to the crime scene and closer to the police officers, so we can get to closure for the case, closure for families. We can get a punitive perpetrator much faster than we do now. Everything that we have read as far as the literature leading up to this shows a significant cost savings to the criminal justice systems when we can get these perpetrators captured and in the system more quickly. Even to when we can get to exonerating somebody who may have been wrongly accused of a crime, when we can get their DNA or the DNA from a crime scene and exonerate somebody quickly, it is a bigger cost savings to our criminal justice system. So, so it's a good business proposal all the way around to get these instruments out and deployed. The other thing too that we didn't discuss at the onset when we were introducing rapid DNA is one of the things that is a goal of mine is to reduce the demand for service on our crime laboratories. If you look at simple economics of supply and demand, I'm not entirely sure how it works in Southeast Asia, but in the United States, we don't hire our criminalists, our forensic scientists, our scientific staff for what our needs are. We generally hire for the bare basic needs, not accounting for increases or growth or anything like that. So there's a constant demand on our laboratory system. Presently, our DNA casework in our forensic laboratory is well over a year backlogged with over 2,000 cases waiting in line. And that is just not a good situation to be in. We're not proud of that. We're not happy with that. We're working on strategies to reduce that backlog. But one of our strategies is definitely to deploy these instruments so the DNA can be done at the crime scene, and we can allow police officers to be doing a lot of our legwork for us, and that will reduce the demand on the crime laboratory. Excuse me. If we do have a positive hit on a rapid DNA instrument, we then can take that swab, or the B swab as it were, excuse me, the A swab as it were, and send it to the crime laboratory. And we could fast track that, knowing that we have a much greater success of getting a DNA profile and being able to run the profile through traditional DNA methods. So there's a number of things that I'm looking at from a director standpoint and a business standpoint, and that is cost savings not only to our laboratory, but to the criminal justice system as a whole, as well as reducing the demand on our laboratory. And of course, the ultimate goal, and that is to reduce crime and be able to get punitive perpetrators at a much greater frequency. So I'm going to share with you just one more slide here. And this is a slide that's showing you a photo of the instruments where we have them in our laboratory. As I mentioned, we have them outside of our quality management system for the reasons I've already aforementioned. On the right side of your screen here, You can see this is one instrument set up. This is the one that's set up in the lobby of our Cape Girardeau laboratory. And for any scientists that are in the audience today, this is probably terrifying to you. As you can see, the instrument is right next to the restroom. That's as I was saying, there's a supply and demand problem in our laboratories, and space is at a premium. So unfortunately, we have this thing crammed in the corner, but we're doing our best with the space we have. The other photo is of our Springfield laboratory lobby. It's a much larger laboratory. It has much larger laboratory space. The instrument will be sitting on this table. You can see it's crated right now. Actually, this is an older photo. The photo that we had, pardon me, the photo that we had, it was taken before we actually set the instrument up. So that is about all I have for you. Like I said, my role in this has kind of been to create the vision and drive the vision and get the funding and those types of things. And Brittany has really been the one who's been driving the science. So I'm going to turn it back over to Brittany now and let her go through how she has designed the actual scientific program for our laboratory. So I'm going to turn it over to Brittany, and without further ado, go ahead. I'll stop sharing, Brittany, and you can jump on and share your screen.
Thanks, Brian. Are you able to see our concept diagram here?
Uh,
I don't see anything yet.
not
Brittany.
yet, not yet.
I am screen sharing, but it's not broadcasting. And I'm wondering if some of my difficulties aren't related to me being signed in as Brian as well.
Brian has stopped sharing, right? Let me see this. Hold on. How about now? Why don't you give it a shot?
It's just not allowing me to broadcast.
Okay.
Brian, if you wouldn't mind sharing again, and I will just talk if you want to drive the PowerPoint.
That should be back up where we had it before.
Yeah.
Okay, I will forward. There we go, Brittany. Is that where you were at?
Thank you. I actually can't see what you're broadcasting.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
Well, just go ahead and follow along on your side. This is the concept screen.
okay, very good. So our concept has evolved a little bit over time, but where we currently sit is that we would be able to enter blood samples from crime scene evidence into the rapid hit instrument and develop STR profiles that are capable of being entered into a small pond database in about an hour and a half. Small Pond has the capability of searching those forensic profiles against our state's offender DNA repository and produce automated match reporting. That offender's information would be passed on to the investigating agency using a manual method, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. And then we would request that the agency submit that A swab to our laboratory for testing using our standard methods and traditional CODIS entry as well. We can advance, Brian. So this is the instrument that has been installed in our Cape Girardeau laboratory. It is the Thermo Fisher Rapid Hit ID instrument that was recently upgraded to version 1.3.3. We are testing blood samples using the Rapid Intel sample cartridge. And then we're using that small pond DNA profile matching system to database and search the DNA profiles against one another. You want to advance, Brian. So the small pond database has 3 categories of profiles. The largest category is going to be those legally authorized offender profiles that are obtained pursuant to our Missouri state law and are traditionally entered into CODIS. And right now we have about 421,000 offender profiles in our database, so about twice the size of Malaysia's. We have opted to just enter the offenders into small pond. So any other profiles that might reside in our state database, like forensic samples, suspect standards, they will not be entered into small pond. So also in small pond, you'll find the index of the forensic profiles obtained from that rapid hit instrument. And then a third pond or category of our staff elimination samples. And right now that's just our laboratory staff, but we are considering the possibility of having the rapid operators profiled for elimination purposes as well. So small pond has the additional functionality of searching. The profile enrollment and searching process is fully automated, as well as the match notification. And that is something that I find really impressive and kind of an additional capability beyond what I'm used to experiencing with CODIS. So although the profile enrollment, searching, and match notification is automated, right now we have not automated the actual release of the offender's personally identifiable information. So blood from point of entry at the scene of a burglary hits to John Doe. That whole testing and enrollment is occurring automated in about an hour and a half. But we still need to find a way to automate the actual release of the offender's information. Brian, if you want to advance on, you can see the landing page of our small pond application. This is a web-based application. And on the next slide, we have our pool configuration. So small pond, you have your ponds or your categories of profiles. And then a pool is like your search configuration. So how many loci or markers are we going to require to match between a forensic sample and an offender sample in order to generate a match? Does the genetic information have to match exactly, or can we just have, a partial match? So it's somewhat configurable for the customer. On the next slide, you can see what the actual match report looks like. So you see the unknown DNA profile obtained from the rapid hit instrument, and then the offender's DNA profile. And this report can be recalled in small pond at any point. But we've configured our program so that when a match occurs, the system will automatically send an email to a configured user, which is myself in this case. And it's informing me that a new match occurred, and then that match report is attached to it, which I think is just a really efficient notification process. On the next slide, have kind of an example of what I envision our notification to our customer will look like. That a match has occurred in the rapid DNA system. It would provide the offender's identifying information. And then, of course, a disclaimer that this information is just for investigative purposes. And, it may not be admissible in court, and that the agency needs to follow up by submitting the second swab to the crime laboratory for additional testing in comparison to a known reference standard from that individual. Next slide, please. So here we have kind of a very rudimentary diagram of what our system looks like, and this certainly does not do it justice. The networking and IT side of this project has probably been the heaviest lift for our organization. Just in developing the knowledge, skills, and abilities of our IT staff, the kind of language barrier between our IT, the vendor's IT, and the laboratory personnel. But as you can see in this diagram, we currently have 4 instruments that are installed and in operation. For the instrument here in Jefferson City, and this would hold true for any of the other instruments. The sample is going to go into the rapid hit instrument. The sample testing and analysis is going to take place, all right there on the instrument. And then the data is going to be archived on a server, which in our case is our small pond server. And then the small pond application is going to reach out to that server at a predefined integral of time to find any new profiles from the rapid instrument or any new offender profiles. And it's going to pull them in and enroll them into small pond and automatically kick off that search. On the next slide, I have a summary of some of the data that was obtained from our rapid hit instruments. We have been working on this project for about 5 years now, and we've had different leaders, different goals and objectives throughout the course of the project. But the work that we did in 2022 was more of a validation. It was a scientist evaluating the rapid hit instrument in a way that scientists are used to evaluating data, and from the perspective that we were going to be using this instrument in the laboratory setting. So it was a very thorough, comprehensive evaluation. And we found that, when we had the right volume of blood, that we were getting green checks 100% of the time. And in the table on the left, you can see the volume of blood and the success rate. And we define success by generating a green check mark. On the table on the right, you can see just some really quick performance checks that were conducted after the instruments were installed in our Cape Girardeau lobby and our Springfield lobby. Only 12 blood samples were tested, and in Cape Girardeau, 83% of those gave a green check mark. In Springfield, only 33% of them did. And to a scientist used to, analyzing data from a capillary electrophoresis instrument, that might seem like a little bit disappointing first pass success rate. But I will say that in reviewing the data, it's scientifically sound. The instrument produced the profiles that we were expecting. It's just that the expert system is so strict that it generated a yellow check. And once we had an analyst take a few moments to review the profiles, we found that they were acceptable, excuse me, and eligible to be enrolled into Small Pond and searched. On the next slide, I have a timeline of our project. So our first instrument was installed in January of 2019. Later that year, we had a second instrument installed. And then in 2020, we did a really formal, FBI quality assurance standards approved validation of these instruments. Because we were looking at these instruments through the lens of forensic DNA analyst and how this instrument could serve us. And then last year, we took a fresh look at this system, and our customers were interested in seeing the instrument used in a crime scene setting to provide them quick investigative leads. And so kind of through that different perspective, we refocused and decided that we were just going to be testing blood samples and really kind of streamlined the performance check process and what our expectations were, and quickly installed those 2 additional instruments. And we're hoping within the next 2 months to kick off a pilot program down in Cape Girardeau, where our investigators are really well versed in DNA and interested in seeing the instrument used, where we would train these investigators. They are used to investigating all sorts of types of crimes, anything from, rural theft unit of, stolen livestock to heinous homicides and sexual assaults. We would train them to use the instruments. We would then just kind of turn it over to them and allow them to run their evidentiary samples. On the next slide, I have kind of what my objectives and expectations for all of the participants in this pilot program would be. And in order to promote a little bit of buy-in, we would test swab A in the laboratory. So it would kind of move their case up in the queue a little bit, but it would also give us scientists the opportunity to compare the data from the rapid hit instrument to the data obtained using our standard methods to make sure that we really felt confident rolling this instrument out as well. All right, so on our last slide here, I just have the contact information for both Brian and myself, and I hope he doesn't mind me speaking for him, but I am always happy to talk about our program and provide any additional information that I can.
That was excellent, Brittany. Thank you. And thank you again, Saurabh, and to the rest of our hosts, Gordon Thomas Honeywell, for reaching out to us. Again, a profound thank you. We are very humbled to have had the opportunity to share this with you. We're very excited about our program. I wish we had more to share with you, more successes. As Brittany pointed out very eloquently, we've had a lot of fits and starts and some changes in direction. And the slide she showed you with the IT challenges, she did say that we had some significant IT challenges, and that slide, although very well put together, did not capture nearly the pain and suffering that we went to get the IT piece straightened out between ourselves, the scientists, our IT people in our agency, and the vendor IT people. It was a very big challenge. And hopefully the pain and suffering and the challenges and the barriers that we ran into, we certainly don't want you or the rest of the world to have to go through that. So please, moving forward, copy down our information there, and we'll send this, and Saurabh has it. So please copy down our information. Saurabh, go ahead and send that to all the attendees. we would love to help you out, help you smooth over the barriers or remove the barriers for you, because we know how challenging it has been. But once again, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to say again, thank you to all involved. Thank you to everyone out there in Southeast Asia, and we appreciate the opportunity. And I'll turn it back over to Saurabh.
I mean, I'm really thankful to both you and Brittany, Brian. Thanks a lot, and thanks for being modest. Your program is still very quite advanced than ours, and the idea of having such exchanges, such forums, is so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel and we can learn from you. And you've been, like I said earlier, you've been more than accommodating, and we all thank you for that. And more than that, also, you've kept your doors open for us. There are, in fact, several questions right now. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I don't want to disappoint some of our audiences.
Not a problem.
But so I'll just ask a few questions before I let you go. The first question is from Nurul Hazira, and she asks, how many loci of the partial profile will you consider as partial to be matched?
I'm going to have to throw that one to Brittany.
Yeah.
7.
We, at this point, are only enrolling complete profiles into Small Pond. So that would be data at all of the global filer loci that were tested. However, I am only searching the CODIS core loci because that's all the data that my offenders have. And I'm only requiring a minimum of 7 loci to match.
Got it. And just a additional question to that. I think you mentioned in your one of your slides that you are not using. Correct me if I'm wrong. You are not putting crime scene profiles in code in Small Pond. Is that correct?
Yes. So, of course, we are enrolling the crime scene profiles obtained from the RAPID instrument. But the crime scene profiles that are obtained by the crime laboratories here in Missouri using their standard methods and enrolled into CODIS, we have opted not to migrate those over to Small Pond just because we don't own that data. And I don't want to introduce that level of complexity into our RAPID program at this point.
No problem. Just a small question, which was, just bothering me, but thank you for that.
Sure.
I'll go to the next one, which is an anonymous attendee. How many units did you acquire when you started the program? I think you answered that. 4. You have 4 right now, right? And how many cartridges did you use per month?
You want to take that, Brittany?
I can take that one as well. So we currently have 11 units, but we have only deployed 4 to date. And that was, we were graciously awarded some money from our legislature. And so we purchased the instruments while we could. They may or may not be sitting in a basement somewhere. As far as the number, as far as the number of cartridges that we're using, that's really hard to say because the work has ebbed and flowed depending on how much validation work we're doing. We really hope to learn the answer to questions like that whenever we embark upon this pilot program at the end of the summer to know really what is the demand from our law enforcement. How many specimens are they going to have that would qualify for this type of testing?
Got it.
Yeah, we'd like to follow up maybe with you, Saurabh, sometime in the fall. We can maybe give you a little bit more data on this after we do a couple months worth of our pilot. Because as Brittany said, when you're doing laboratory testing on these things, you're kind of running samples at will. And one of the reasons we want to get into this pilot program is really to inform us the burn rate of the cartridges we're going to be using, as well as the stall rate, in which how long they're going to be sitting in between the cases that our folks are going to be running. And so all of those things are going to really inform the frequency of ordering and the amount of expenditure we're going to have and those types of things. And you just can't predict that in the crime laboratory until you really get you really get some real-time data. And so we're going to be trying to collect that through our pilot programs.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate your candor. We will, of course, be following up with you, and we really hope that your program is successful.
Thank you.
The other thing was, and I'm assuming that the question is about who operates the instrument. I'm sure I mean, right now it may be a lab, but later on you want it to be police officers, right?
That's exactly right. That's our intention, is to allow the police officers to use them. We want to put the program in their hands. We want to have reach back capacity in the laboratories. As Brittany was saying, you know, one of our instruments for some reason likes to kick back yellow check marks instead of green. So we're going to be doing the reach back support. We again still are dancing on the razors as to what type of support we're going to do in a maintenance capacity. Are we going to be swapping out the cartridges and doing the quality checks and those types of things? Or are we going to hand that off to the law enforcement officers? Eventually, I think it would be my desire to hand as much off to the law enforcement officers as far as the maintenance and the ordering and those types of things. And we would just provide a minimal modicum of support, basically reach back support and financial support. But again, we're just going to let the program roll and see how it informs us. And we're going to test out the competence and the confidence of our law enforcement officers with these instruments by literally putting them in their hands and supporting them. And then we're going to start backing off incrementally and seeing how that works.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Brian. And the last question is a bit of a curveball, I think, for both you and Brittany. From Abdul Rashid, in your opinion, which is most important, to have a big size of DNA database or to have rapid DNA in order to solve crime?
I think I know what Brittany's answer to that's going to be. I think
I would go with the database
probably
side.
a bigger database, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but I would like to say that they are both, they're complementary. I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, I think you can't, life, even before databases, you were solving crimes. Just that databases made it better, and rapid makes it further, improves it further.
I think if you look at it, Saurabh, and to everyone out there, if you look at it, in my opinion, I've been around for quite a while. And I think, I've witnessed the databases grow. And as the databases grow, we get more hits and we get more improvements and we get better quality of our law enforcement systems, of our laboratories, et cetera. Now, as we marshal in rapid DNA and the frequency in which we're going to be able to make those hits on those databases, the more rapid DNA instruments you get out, coupled with the larger databases, that's only going to be a much better piece of the puzzle. And then if you add the forensic investigative genealogic genetics to that, I really do think we're evolving and launching into a completely new era of the way we use DNA. And I think all of these technologies, databases, rapid, FIG, the way they complement each other is just going to revolutionize what we do. But I think the key to rapid as well as FIG is going to be the expansion of the large databases. The larger your databases are, it goes back to the financial, not only the hits that you're going to get that are going to help victims in the law enforcement system, but every hit you make is a positive financial input into the system. And so, you know, for every hit you make, I believe the number is somewhere in like a $200,000 worth of savings in the US for every one CODIS hit you make. That's astonishing return on investment.
Absolutely, Brian, and that was, I would say, that was a very, very good closing statement from you. I mean, I think you said it. So these three, I think these three technologies are taking the whole world, I mean, in the right direction, and we hope we can all learn from each other. So I will not keep you up any longer. Yeah, Dato, please go on.
Sorry, since I have this opportunity, first and foremost, thank you, Brian and Brittany, for your comprehensive brief. From the briefing just now, I see that from your project timeline, that is from 2019 to 2023, there is probably a shift of the instrument from the lab into the hands of the police. So I was wondering if it's possible for you actually to share what you have started at 2019 and the programs that you are suggesting of how to train the police so that they can handle this rapid instrument by themselves. And then we also see that probably the samples that they're going to take from the crime scene, one, that they're going to run through the rapid, and probably once there is a hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're still there.
So once there's probably a hit, then we will like to use the traditional way of analyzing, that is to send the sample to the lab for proper analysis and probably to get a forensic report. So so your project timeline is something that we would be interested in. We do not want to go through the same process in the sense that if there are lessons learned and things where we could actually leverage from your findings, then probably it'll be easier for us to actually implement it here. And secondly, from the table that you showed just now, you're showing that the ideal sample size would be about 10 liters of blood for best analysis. So so these are things that if we already know, then maybe when we write up the protocol for our investigating officers or our police officers, then they will know what are the things that need to be done and to ensure that we are in keeping with the relevant laws that are in practice. Thank you.
Yeah, I could just address that very briefly. We're, you know, when we train our officers, we plan to go through a comprehensive training. We're going to have them actually, you know, swabbing things, putting the swabs in the instruments. We have a written test. We have a training program we're to put them through. And our training program is going to be about 12 hours worth of training for the officers. And that is going to include that A swab has to go on to the laboratory. And as Brittany said, we're going to do a concordance. We're starting off our program with blood. We found that to be our most successful, but that doesn't mean we're not going to expand that to maybe some touch or something in the future. And then also, as far as our training materials go, we're going to be handing all those out to our officers in probably the next 2 months. And they may evolve, but again, we can make all of our training materials, all of our protocols, all of our forms, all of our guidance materials, we can make that all available to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Much obliged.
That's wonderful. And thanks a lot. That's a great gesture, Brian, and that's a great query, Dato. I think it's apart from knowledge sharing. I think if we can actually, actually learn from some of the protocols, from some of the training practices, I think and incorporate that into our trainings, right? That would be very beneficial. So thank you, thanks a lot, and yeah, I think it's I would let you go. Thanks again. I cannot repeat myself enough. Both of you, Brittany, Brian, I really appreciate this. I hope this is the beginning of a great collaboration. And I'm pretty sure Dato is ready to host you when you come down to Malaysia. So
Brittany's got her bags packed.
so thank you both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Right. If you could stop sharing the slide. I think, yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. So hi all. I think that was a very informative session, and I'm sure we can keep going all night. But I think we'll let Brian and Brittany go, or they can stay if they want to. We will move on. As I said, that we will be next. We will be going into some. We are going to show you how exactly Rapid works for those who do not have don't know much about that. And I promise these are not going to be very long lectures, but yeah, these are going to be very interesting videos. So first of all, I would go and show you a video by Robert O'Brien from Florida International University from the forensic biology section. He's the forensic biology section lead in the Global Forensic and Justice Center, and he shows us what exactly how a Rapid works. Just bear with me.
The unit actually looks like this. On both ends, you have
Sorry, I think I'll just play that again. Just give me a second.
This is the Applied Biosystems Rapid Hit ID instrument. It is a cartridge-based system. Down here we have the primary cartridge. The primary cartridge, when it's inside the unit, actually looks like this. On both ends you have your buffers. You have your anode and cathode buffers. You have your capillary array, which is up here. And then you have the polymer. Now this normally comes separately and it's held in a refrigerator. You put this in right before use. These are the other cartridges that the samples go into. It comes with a positive control, a negative control, the Rapid Hit ACE cartridge. This is for high-level buccal swabs, and the Intel cartridge. This is for your crime scene type low-level samples. There are 3 different ways to log on to the instrument itself. It has biometrics included in the instrument. The first one being the facial recognition, which is up here in the top left with the blue light around it. It does have a camera installed in here. The second one being fingerprints. There's a fingerprint scanner down here at the bottom, also with blue lights to log into the instrument. And then the third way being a passcode. To log in with the passcode, you click the button in the middle of the screen, you click the bottom right down here, and then we would type in the passcode for the instrument. Now when you're logged on to the instrument, there's two separate buttons down here, one being to lock the instrument up, the other being to check some of the other settings on the instrument. The first button up here that you're seeing is a video demonstration of how to operate the instrument. The second one here is how to retract the primary cartridge and replace it with a new one. The third one here is the samples that have been run on the instrument. You can see it has green check marks, yellow check marks. This gives you an overall summary of what was run and what the sample actually gave. This fourth one being the users on the actual instrument. For example, we have an admin here. We only have a passcode for the admin account. Highlighted. You can add fingerprints and facial recognition to it. You can also add other users, and you can have them using all three or just a passcode, however you would like to set it up.
Ni Liza lah duduk telefon ni ai tengah
Contains the instrument settings. You have the software version, your IP address, and some other settings involved with the instrument.
Jangan
Back to
kata
the main screen.
kan aku dah beritahu, kalau tidak aku kan ada
You have this down here, which has how many samples run on the instrument and how many. We're going to go ahead and run a sample on the instrument. We're going to be using the Intel cartridge, and I'm going to be running a low-level blood sample. The packaging, just rip off the top. There's a seal in here. Open the seal. And then you pull out the cartridge. Now when you're loading a sample on here, the swab goes up here in the top part. You open up this container. And again, I want to show that there is a low-level blood sample on here. When you load a swab into the cartridge, you place the swab into the top portion. You want to leave it about 1 centimeter from the bottom, and then you're going to break the swab off. So you're leaving a little bit of room for the swab at the top. The reason why we leave a little bit of space at the top is because the liquid flows up through the chamber, and you don't want to block that channel, so you leave some space at the top so it doesn't jam that chamber at the bottom. So I'm going to close my sample cartridge, and our instrument did log out, so I'm going to log back in using our passcode. This button at the top is where you're going to type in your sample name. I'm going to name this low level blood. And then you hit enter. And on the screen, it's going to show you exactly what I just showed you, how to load the swab, break it off, and load it into the cartridge at the top. So you place it in the sample up here, in the cartridge, hold that, and the timer is going to come up. It does take about 1.5 hours to run the instrument. When you load the sample on, it's going to say 110 minutes. It only takes 95 minutes to run the actual sample. So this sample will be done with about 15 minutes remaining. So a nice part about the instrument is when the sample's done, you can let it sit on the instrument for a little bit. The screen will go back to idle, and then all you need to do is log back in to pull the sample out. So we're going to log back in. For demonstration purposes, this is a sample we had ready to come off the instrument. This is a one-swipe buccal swab. It comes up with images of how to remove the sample. I'm just going to remove it from the cartridge at the top. And then we have our sample here, which gave us a green check mark. Once a run is done, you're going to take the cartridge out, and you can take the swab out of the cartridge to rerun with conventional DNA methods. To do that, you're going to open up the top cap, use your sterile tweezers, go down within the cartridge, grab the swab, and remove it from the cartridge. Then you're going to place a swab into a 1.5 ml microcentrifuge tube and allow the swab to air dry. This is the RapidLink software that comes with the instrument. This is the home screen of the RapidLink software. It comes up with a map showing where your instruments are located, and then there's a pin here showing the specific point and where they're located. If you click this, you see we have two instruments here. One that is our up and running functional instrument that we loaded the cartridge onto. And then the second one is red. We sent this one back. So if you no longer have an instrument here, it will come up as red. On the bottom left, you have the runs per day, which is the combined samples that were run for all your instruments. On the bottom right, you have the samples processed, and this is separated out between instruments. So over here on the left, you see we got 150 samples out of one instrument. This was the RHID 0347. And then we have 0474 down here where we have 105 samples run. The nice part about this is you can monitor this sample usage and samples processed from afar or one central location. So if you have multiple instruments out in the field, you can order reagents and you can see how many samples have been, well, you can see how many samples were run to see if you need to order reagents for the future. Going on to the next tab, these are the samples that were processed, combined from both of those instruments. To view a sample, you're going to click the sample ID. It's going to open up GeneMarker. You can see over here on the right is a preview of what your sample data is going to look like. To actually view the electropharogram, you're going to click this tab up here in the top left. This is showing the allelic ladder. I'm going to click the drop down to view my sample, and then this is how you view your data coming off of the instrument and look at the electropharograms. Going on to the next tab, this is the matching portion of the software. So if you have samples in here that match to another sample, it will let you know on this tab. You can click the matching icon over here on the right. When you click that, it's going to pull up a form. It shows you what samples matched, the estimated likelihood ratio. The next tab is the familial search tab. So if you're looking to identify if there is someone's father, someone's child in here, you can drag the sample over and it will search through the database showing if they are family members or not. All your answers will pull up down here, are the samples that match. And then you click this icon down here to actually view the report. The next tab is the kinship tab. So if you want to see if someone is claiming that this is their child, you can drag their sample over as well as their alleged child sample and see if they are a match and see if what they're saying is actually true. When you drag the samples over, it will also generate a report confirming or not confirming their relationship. This last tab is the staff elimination database. This is where you import DNA samples from your staff, and the RapidLink software will automatically check against samples for contamination. Thank you for watching this demonstration on the Rapid Hit ID. I will now be live to answer any questions that may have come up.
Sorry. Thank you all for watching. I have a message from Robert that because of the time difference, he could not make it live. However, he would love to answer any questions that you may have. You can write to us, to Dr. Narain, and we will make sure that the queries are answered. So this was about the workings of Rapid. Many of us have heard a lot about it, but when it comes to the nuts and bolts is where we usually have some questions. So I hope that answered some of those questions. Next, I would there's an interesting case that I wanted to highlight from the state of U.S. state of Connecticut. Now, this is a very good case in that it is a solution that that the Royal Malaysian Police can actually maybe it's the closest to what is possible for us right now. So let me just show you this video again, and this is the speakers in this is Cheryl Carrero. She is the Assistant Director of Forensic Science Lab, DNA Technical Leader, Connecticut.
For Waterbury Police, a new piece of technology is helping them identify potential suspects faster. Channel 3 Waterbury Bureau Chief Dennis Valera shows us how it works and how it's already been used to make an arrest.
The rapid hit technology recently helped in the arrest of this guy, Juan Roman. Police found his DNA from an object he used trying to break into Top Shelf Liquor. After submitting his DNA into the machine in less than an hour, he was already identified as a suspect. After taking him into custody, he admitted to 6 other burglaries throughout the city.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Carrero. I'm the Assistant Director for the Division of Scientific Services in the state of Connecticut. I'm here with Lieutenant Joe Ranone from the Waterbury Police Department, and we are in our rapid DNA kiosk. Here's the rapid hit ID instrument that we use here, and it's to generate investigative leads. If you didn't see me on the previous session, just for a little recap, we have this kiosk open 24/7 for officers to come in and use this, potentially develop a single source profile from a crime scene sample. And that crime scene sample profile then searches against the state of Connecticut's convicted offenders. And we hope to generate an investigative lead for them to be able to use in their investigations. This kiosk that we have here is used for a tool for officers, local, state, FBI. They're able to come here and use instruments in this kiosk, and the rapid hit ID is used quite frequently. We generate a lot of leads for different agencies with the oversight of the lab, but in general, it's for the officers, and they're the operators. That's who we train. And Lieutenant here will talk about, for his side, about his investigations and how this is going to help them in the future. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Cheryl. The Waterbury Police Department is very excited to be part of this rapid program with the Connecticut Division of Scientific Services, Connecticut Forensic Laboratory. Already, we've had some success with an investigative lead that was given to us through a serial burglar that burglarized 7 downtown businesses. Within 90 minutes, the rapid system gave the detectives an investigative lead to provide more of an investigation with other police work that was used to pick up the suspect and eventually get a full confession from the burglary suspect on these 7 burglaries. This has been really a great system for us as far as the timeliness of it. In the past, it would take possibly 3 months, possibly a year, depending on the crime. If it was a property crime, it would be over a year. But now we're looking at 90 minutes to give us an investigative lead. The big thing is that not only is it a closure for the police department, but all of us have been victims of some types of crime, whether it be a burglary all the way up into a robbery or homicide. So these victims and these victims' families, all they want is closure. And this type of system could give them closure. Besides the police department, it could give victims' families closure. So we're very excited to be part of that. And I think the federal, state, and local agencies in Connecticut are excited to have the rapid program with us.
We do deal with agencies that are sort of skeptical. It's DNA, and in some instances, people are kind of scared of DNA and the science behind it. But I'm sure Lieutenant here can explain that it's really simple to use this instrument, and all agencies are available to use it. And it's pretty easy, right?
It is very easy. We're very fortunate in Waterbury. We have crime scene technicians that all have degrees in forensic science. Whereas police officers don't need forensic science degrees. But when it was described to us and just joking around with colleagues, it's easy enough that a police officer can do it. It's very easy. There's no issues at all with it. And if we had a problem, we would just call Cheryl or somebody at the state lab to help us out. So if you're reluctant to get this system, you shouldn't feel that way.
So the lieutenant brought over some evidence, and we're going to process it for the rapid. And I'm going to take this over to him because he's suiting up and he's getting aseptic, and he's putting on gloves and sleeves and a mask because we have to protect against contamination. And he's going to talk you through the process. go, Joe.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm going to open up the bag, and we have a bottle here. This is great because we're going to take this off, the bottle cap. And all the good DNA is going to be around that surface area where that person was drinking from. So we have sterile swabs and some distilled water. And we're just going to swab this mouth of the bottle. Okay. I'm going to save one swab for conventional. Enter the swab into the cartridge. And it's all set to enter into the rapid. Log into the rapid.
So for the rapid hit ID, there's 3 different ways you can log into the system. You can either have a PIN like Lieutenant Renon is doing right now. They do biometrics by fingerprint, and they also do facial recognition, which is really cool. So he's logging in. He's going to type in his agency code, WTBY, his case number, and the item number. After that goes in, the machine accepts it. Check mark. So the machine's gonna tell us what to do. We have the cartridge all prepped, the swab's in there, and now it's going to tell him to insert the cartridge into the sample port, like so. Awesome. It's gonna circle around, and in 90 minutes, hopefully we get a association to a Connecticut convicted offender. So Lieutenant, after this is done, we might get some information that'll give you an investigative lead. If we do get an association, I'm gonna find out the name and date of birth of somebody. You're gonna make sure that that person is a convicted felon by state statute. You're gonna confirm that, and then I'm gonna type you up a notification which will explain what we did, a little rapid summary, a rapid DNA summary that you can paste into your police report, and you can use it as investigative lead. Now remember, you submitted evidence to the laboratory for conventional testing, so please wait for the real CODIS hit until you go further with the courts. But at least this gives you an idea of where to go.
Great. I think it's a game changer for policing. Being a police officer for over 30 years, this is the most exciting thing that I've seen in the last 30 years. Besides the patrol units getting body cameras and all that other technology, as far as working in the forensic division and seeing the amount of resources that are spent on a major investigation, this just brings that time down by more than half. It enables the detectives who are getting surveillance video and interviewing witnesses. It allows them to get that investigative lead, and they could work on other avenues of the investigation. So we're very honored to have this be part of this rapid DNA program and utilize this in Waterbury Police Department. We're also going to be inviting other officers throughout Connecticut, whether they be state, federal, or local officers, to come here. And that collaboration between our department, all the other local, state, and federal agencies in Connecticut, and of course Cheryl and the people at the Connecticut Forensic Lab is going to help us a lot in law enforcement in Connecticut.
Absolutely. I mean, I can log into any rapid instrument across the state, and our future is going to be more of those rapid hit ID systems across the state, in the east, in the west, and officers can go to all different places, and Sevi and I are allowed to go in and check the data, make sure that everything's okay, and be able to help them get that investigative lead. So it's very exciting.
One question we get a lot from families, especially in serious cases where the victims can't communicate with police, is that please find this person. Please help our family. Please bring this person to justice. So this technology, this rapid program is going to help us and investigators in that. We're going to bring that person to justice a lot quicker than we would have with conventional DNA methods. Like I said before, it used to take months and years. Even a serious case would take a couple months. And this is going to give not only us closure through our investigation, but also the families that closure that they want.
So hopefully, after watching all this, you've seen how easy the rapid hit instrument is. It's used by our law enforcement agencies all the time, and it's put into this kiosk, especially because we have other tools at this laboratory that the officers can use. We have a NIBID instrument, an APHIS instrument, and now the Rapid Hit ID instrument. It's been a great collaboration with agencies. If you have any questions whatsoever about our program or anything that Sevi and I can help you with, please contact us. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this.
Hi, that was Cheryl Guerrero, like I said, from Connecticut. And again, if you have questions, please let us know and we will relay to them. It's mainly because of the time difference that we couldn't have these guests live, but hopefully we can have them next time. Without taking much of your busy time, I would conclude this webinar, and I would now pass on to Dato Narain for the closing remarks. Dato, you're on mute.
Thank you, Saurabh. In closing the webinar, I'm indebted to register my heartfelt gratitude to so many people for making this webinar a success. Let me start off by thanking presenters Brian Howie and Brittany for sharing their journey and valuable experience in DNA, namely the utilization of the rapid DNA. They represent the Missouri State Highway Patrol. As Saurabh indicated, should they decide to come to anywhere in this region, I'm sure I and also my colleagues from the Malaysian Royal Police will be happy to host them. I would also like to thank Superintendent Raihana, the able assistant of Dr. Hakim, for coordinating this, the attendees of more than 70 police officers from the CID of the Royal Malaysia Police to participate in the webinar. And she articulated very well as to where the Royal Malaysia Police is as far as DNA technology is concerned, and how excited they are in adopting and also learning from others who have already gone through the journey. I'm also duty bound to congratulate all the attendees for participating, patiently listening, and also asking some questions so that we are better acquainted with this rapid technology. I would also like to thank Robert O'Brien, the DNA biologist, and Cheryl Carrera from the Connecticut Scientific Services, who showed us how a kiosk set up either within the lab or outside the lab could actually be effectively used by the police to run some samples so that they can get investigative leads, which will assist the investigating officer in actually trying to do the investigation in the fast possible manner, so that there is some closure both to police investigation, which involves a lot of investment, and also to the family who have been wanting to know what has happened to the case where their loved ones are involved. So last but not least, I would also like to register my gratitude and congratulations to the handsome Mr. Saurabh, the Asia Pacific Director for Gordon Thomas Honeywell, for making this seminar happen. I'm sure this is not the first and last, and knowing him, I'm very confident that there will be more webinars and similar engagement in the future. Therefore, stay tuned and pray we meet again in the nearest future. With those words, I wish all of you the best in your duties, and may God bless all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you, Raihana.
Thank you, Dato. Thank you, Mr.
Bye. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good day all. Bye-bye.